My 36F friend, 36 meters, used me for sex. After promising he wouldn't. I have a friend that I've known for 8 years. We've chatted pretty much daily during those years. At various times, we've both been in other relationships. We chat about our days, our relationships, nothing that would be disrespectful to our partners. In 2019 we were both single. I had just gotten out of a rather abusive relationship and wasn't looking for anything else right away. He wanted to get together, but I was really honest that I wasn't ready for anything. He'd go on dates and tell me about them, ask my advice, etc. He was very clear that he was interested in finding a long-term partner. We'd meet up occasionally for dinner or to go for a walk, etc. He was always respectful of me and we both helped each other out in various ways. I'd look after his dog for him when he had to go away. He helped me paint my apartment. A few months ago he told me that he was attracted to me and that he hoped that I would consider trying things out with him when I'm ready. I said I might be ready in time, but that I don't expect him to wait for me, and that I truly value him as a friend. He said he also valued my friendship a lot. We also both agreed that we aren't people who ever hook up. I actually never have. And he said he hasn't either. He told me about a friend of his who slept with men because she was looking for a long-term relationship, but that these men just used her for sex and it really hurt her. He said he had no respect for men like that. I asked if he had ever slept with this friend and he said no, he wasn't attracted to her. He also said honestly, "I want you." In the last month, he's been calling me a lot. I have been going through a hard time and he has always called to check in on me, etc. He asked me a couple of times to go on a date, but I wasn't able to. Finally, I decided to stop being so cautious and to actually go on a date with him. The date turned out to be drinks on a heated patio, which is fine, but he had told me he wanted to go for dinner. After we had a drink he suggested we go back to his place because he needed to let his dog out. We went back and he immediately started kissing me, so I went with it. I felt ready to do so. Finally, it was fine, not wonderful, but I was pretty nervous. For first time sex it was fine though. However, since then, it's been 2 weeks. I've barely heard from him. I kind of thought after all the talk that he would want to move ahead, that we'd go on an actual date, that he'd want to see me again. Instead, he's just sent me a couple of generic memes. I texted him to ask how his day was and he just replied okay, tired. Then a couple of days later he told me he was hiking with a friend and sent me a pic of the scenery. That was it. He hadn't invited me on that hike, and he often does invite me when he goes hiking. He also hasn't called me at all, which is a total departure from the previous month. I know I should talk to him, but I feel kind of humiliated. I finally let my guard down with him, and after knowing him for 8 years I honestly felt I was safe to do so. It wasn't a drunken spur of the moment thing, and now he's basically gone into hiding. He knows this is not something I ever do. I feel used kind of and stupid. I thought this was a big step that we both agreed upon and would now try out an actual relationship. Instead, I feel like he completely lost interest in me after having sex. I also keep thinking maybe he found me unattractive or something. Should I try to get our friendship back? Should I just let it go? I feel like he's not who I thought he was. But if I can't even judge someone after being friends with them for 8 years, how the hell am I supposed to feel confident to date anyone? Too long didn't read. I slept with my friend, who told me he wanted a relationship, and now he's MIA. It's possible that the reality of having sex with you is nowhere near what he had built up in his head, and that's not really anyone's fault. He doesn't owe you a relationship, but may feel obligated in some way because of your previous conversations, and now doesn't know how to handle it. I think a much bigger problem here is that you conceptualized women having sex with men they're not committed to as something that undervalues or defiles them. That mindset is setting you up to fail, because that's not how most people perceive sexual activity, and you're internalizing slights where none are intended. It's perfectly normal to feel chemistry with someone, test it out, and walk away from the experience without the urge to spend the next few decades with that person. Honestly, if this guy has been your friend to that level of closeness and contact for 8 years, you should be able to call him and be like, "What's up with you, dude?" Exclamation mark. there is the quite real possibility that this is anxiety about what moving forward may mean, and separately, if he'll measure up to what's coming. I know the cliche is he wanted to get off, but frankly, most people's insight into men's actual emotions is right around absolute zero. That, however, is not an excuse, since obviously you will now feel shit. So, I'd make it clear. Ask how he is and if he'd like to meet up again. You can then explain face to face. If he is unenthusiastic, explain how you're feeling, that you wanted something real, and the two of you have a shot at that, but the opportunity is slipping away and not coming back. In either the face-to-face or text case, his reaction will make it very clear to you whether something he's fighting is holding him back or if he can't be asked with you. You shouldn't speculate and think the worst, when you haven't actually talked to him. There could be a million different reasons for his behavior, and at least half of them not even about you. Maybe he feels embarrassed, and felt the night you had together went wrong, and he think you don't want him. Guys have fears and doubts too, just like us women. Why are you sitting around and waiting for him to make a move? How about you ask him out on a date? How about you invite him on a hike? How about you make any sort move, and be done with it? Talk it out with him, and get the facts. Then you know if this could be a relationship, a friendship, or if you have to move on. He was your friend for 8 years, and sounds like a legit friend who did things with you and for you. I don't think this was a long con for sex. I could be wrong, of course, but my guess is he feels equally awkward and unsure. There's always an awkwardness when you've been friends for a long time before sex. Plus, he had been pretty open with you in the past. Maybe he's waiting for you to make a move or say something. Or maybe the chemistry was lacking. Or maybe he really is just a jerk. We'll never know unless you talk to him. Or you could try inviting him out for a hike or dinner. If he makes an excuse, at least you'll know where you stand. Brother's GF, now fiancé, is frustrating as hell. I, 35F, don't particularly care for my brothers, 33M, fiancé, 32F. Their entire relationship, 10 plus years, has been very one-sided, with him catering to her, doing what she wants, living where she wants to live. When they did the long-distance thing, it was always him traveling to see her, not the other way around, and all of our closest friends feel like she's entitled and railroads him in the relationship, putting her needs and wants above his. Anyway, they got engaged, which I was low-key disappointed about, but whatever. But the thing that frustrates me is how my brother includes her. Like when the two of them join my Jmay and I to celebrate my Gma's birthday, it's meant so we can take my Jmay out to dinner/treat her. But the bill comes, and my brother splits it down the middle. So I'm paying for Jmay, and he's paying for his GF. This happens every time, and my Jmay notices it and thinks it's poor etiquette on his part. He's not doing anything to treat my Jmay on her B-day. Now, I'm trying to plan a family vacation for my Jmay, because the last few months have been extremely stressful for her. It's intended as a family trip, and I don't want it to fall on any holidays coming up or on my coming up B-day, because I want it to be about her, and not anything else. Well, my brother suddenly says his GF can't do the dates we picked out, so we have to choose different dates. I'm irritated by this. This is the second time I've had to reschedule a family trip for his GF. I understand they are kind of a package deal, but I'm not planning this trip for his GF. Last year we planned a trip to Europe, and the cost of my flights nearly doubled because we were limited to her schedule. Our entire family in Europe, and myself, had to change the dates we planned for a family trip to accommodate someone who is not a blood relative. Told my brother that his JFES schedule is unfortunate, but this trip isn't for or about her, and it will depend on my Jmay. Now my brother is being an asshole to me about it. If the roles were reversed, and if his JFES family ever booked a trip, I highly doubt they would do it per my brother's schedule. They have the rest of the year to book whatever trips they want together, and they can choose to invite me or not invite me. I don't really care, but this is the one trip I was trying to coordinate for my Jmay, and now somehow his JFES schedule is the make or break factor for it. Has anyone experienced similar advice for navigating this situation? Too long didn't read. My brother is letting his relationship with his GF commandeer family plans. Edit. No, I don't hate her guts. Yes, we include her in everything. Yes, we treat them with respect. This post isn't about accepting her. We do. I just think she has some nerve to hijack events intended for other family members. My advice is to just go with her and leave your brother if waiting on him overruns the budget by an unacceptable amount. It doesn't sound like he's willing to put into that himself too. Your grandmother isn't getting any younger and it's best that she go while she is fairly clear about things. I understand that while your brother views his bride-to-be as being on a pedestal, he needs to understand that sometimes, it isn't about him or her. That it is time for your grandmother to be with her family that she hasn't seen, and at this going rate, will have not see again. While this is a family vacation, it ultimately is about her seeing family, and that is something they need to understand. I find the distinction between blood relations and other relatives very strange. If someone was adopted, you wouldn't say, oh well, they aren't a blood relation so I'm not including them. At the end of the day, they've been together for over 10 years and are now engaged. So I don't find it at all strange that she considers herself part of the family. You are the strange one for treating her as a temporary girlfriend. I think you should just treat her as any other family member. We all have family we don't like as much, wouldn't have chosen to be friends with. This is your grandmother's trip and you probably wouldn't change the dates for anyone, so don't change them for her. If you are treating your grandma to a meal, then all siblings etc. would probably be expected to contribute, so your brother, she should as well. If you wouldn't move the Europe dates for a sibling or cousin, don't for her. But any accommodations you would give random family members should also be extended to her. I just think she has some nerve to hijack events intended for other family members. Yikes. It's very possible she doesn't actually want to go that much and the pressure for her to attend is coming from your brother. I have some sympathy with you as I find my brother-in-law difficult and it means I don't look forward to family events where he will be in attendance. However, it's pretty standard for engaged/married people to want to include their significant other in family stuff. Reading your post, it feels like you are irritated with your brother's behavior and are redirecting your resentment at his girlfriend. If you have to cater to a lot of people in arranging this trip, just don't move the dates. If your brother has been in a relationship with her for 10 years and intends to marry her, he is thinking of her as his spouse while you're thinking of her as just his girlfriend. You can't exclude her without damaging your relationship with your brother. I think there are two issues going on here, which aren't that tied together. You're planning a trip for your grandma, so plan that. If your brother and his fiancé can't attend, you simply tell them that these dates work for grandma, that you're sorry your brother and his fiancé can't come. The other part is that your brother is treating his future wife as his nuclear family. She's his number one. So when you want to organize a family event, to your brother his fiancé is automatically family. So her availability is important to him. It might not be important to you. You don't care if she comes or not, as you don't count her as family. But your brother does. And I'm making a wild bet here, that if you try to change that dynamic, if you try to force your brother to exclude his future wife, you'll exclude him too. My sister, 12F, has been living a double life on social media, and most worrying has been pretending to have medical issues. How do I approach her and stop this? The title pretty much says it all. My little sister, 12, has been living a different life on TikTok. My mother and my siblings, she's the youngest, are pretty shocked. She has vulgar and rude language, apparently has boyfriends, posting about her sexuality and pronouns, and a ton of other things my family has decided she is entirely too young for. Most concerning is that she has been pretending to have muscle tics, which she announced as I have a new symptom. She also seems to be greatly exaggerating events and posts about how severe and often her panic attacks are and that no one cares about her. She does not have tics, and we have never seen her have them, nor has she told her doctor. I'm afraid she might have Munchausen syndrome or Ganser syndrome. She has been diagnosed with anxiety and has periodic eating selectiveness where she claims she can't eat certain things, until my mom breaks down and buys her protein shakes until she can slowly reintroduce her to foods. She sees a psychiatrist weekly, but has been forgetting to get appointment lately. She has screaming hysterics often and seems to have sensory issues, but other times she is fine. Previously we had just figured she has bad days and good days. But now I'm concerned. Is she faking or exaggerating these symptoms? How do I stop this? We confronted her and she does not have a problem with her actions, just says she needs her phone back. Too long didn't read. My sister, 12F, has been living a double life on social media. Most worrying is that she has been pretending to have nervous tics. I am worried it is one small part of a larger lie. How do I approach her and stop this?